I am moderately wrecked right now. Thank you, Trey. Thank you, guys. It was amazing. Moved. I'm moved. I look out and I see people that don't live here, but that I know and that I love to see when I get to see them. And I'm beginning to recognize some faces. All I know of some of you guys is just the picture on your Facebook profile or your Instagram profile. And I've interacted with a lot of you, and I love that. Feels like a family reunion. And this is year 3. And this was born out of an idea that I had sitting in a meeting where I wanted to do something like this. And as is typical with people who cast vision, they cast this vision and they describe what they want. And then they delegate it to people and then they go home, okay? So Jeremy is absolutely right in acknowledging the many people who have made this possible, because this would not be possible. None of what you experience this weekend would be possible without a handful of people who I will mention tomorrow afternoon by name. But it's good to be back. This is one of my favorite weekends of the year. I want to open with a quote from a friend of mine, Old Testament scholar by the name of Tremper Longman. He wrote a book on the Psalms. This is what he said. The Psalms are a divine human encounter. As we read the Psalms, we are entering into a literary sanctuary, the place where God meets us in a special way, where his people get real with him. In the same way that the sanctuaries of the Old Testament were at the physical center of where God's people lived, the temple, the tabernacle, so too the book of Psalms is in the middle of the Bible. The Psalms as a sanctuary. I love that. Love it. A safe house, a refuge, a harbor, a place where we can come as we are, not as we should be, and bare our souls to God. A place where we can express ourselves honestly, ruggedly, without any fear of rejection. The Psalms give us permission to feel what we feel without apology and to be honest with God about all of it. They give us room to be fully human, to vent about the way life really feels. They reveal a God who is not a fake it till you make it kind of God, a stiff upper-lipped kind of God, a get over it already kind of God. Rather, they reveal a God who invites us to bring all of our unedited emotions to the table. Anger, sadness, fear, doubt, frustration, loneliness, heartache, hopelessness, grief, desperation, anxiety, longing. In the Psalms, God says, drop the act. I want to see you. I want to see you. Take off your mask. He doesn't flinch at your sharp edges, your past mistakes, or the secrets that you keep. He doesn't ask you to shrink, soften, or censor yourself. He doesn't demand that you wash up before you come or put on a mask of saintliness. Instead, he offers you a space, a reckless, honest, untamed space where you can exhale, a place where you are free to come unglued. The Psalms remind us that it's safe to bring our whole self to God. the self that is clear and confused, the self that loves and holds grudges, the self that is hopeful and despairing, the self that is arrogant and humble, greedy and generous, confident and insecure. That's all of us. We are all a bundle of contradictions. Bundle of contradictions. Every single one of us. We tell the truth and we lie. We live out in the open and we hide. We give and we take. We're self-controlled and we're reckless. We have an enormous capacity to be faithful to those who love us and an enormous capacity to hurt those same people with all forms of betrayal. And the Psalms are there to remind us that we can bring all that stuff to God boldly and safely. It's the reason why I love the Psalms, because they give me permission to bring my entire self to God safely. We've been duped into believing that God doesn't welcome our dirt. But the Psalms teach us that God can handle your shit, okay? Maybe others can't, but He can. And He invites it. Come to me, all of you who are weary, weighed down, I will give you rest. Come, ye sinners, poor and needy, weak and wounded by the fall. If you wait until you're better, you will never come at all. It is, in my opinion, extremely important to remember that God draws near to us because we are weak and dirty, not because we are strong and clean. It is our sin and not our sanctity that summons God's grace. That's crazy talk. I mean, it is our brokenness and not our beauty that activates God's mercy. That is a paradigm-shifting thought. The idea that we have to get clean, we have to get right, that church is full of good people who have learned to live right, do right, fly straight, does more damage than any kind of anti-Christian thinking or philosophy out there. The church, and not the world, has done more damage to more people when it comes to how people think about God. And because of that, we don't come to God freely, really, truly, boldly. We've been told that God likes the clean, the competent. So if you really want to ensure that you stay in God's good graces, you have to maintain some measure of cleanliness. But it is, as I said, our sin and not our supposed sanctity that summons God's grace. It is our brokenness and not our supposed beauty that activates God's mercy. Psalm 42 is one of my favorites because it's so raw. It's a cry from the depths of despair. Here are some of the verses. As the deer longs for streams of water, so I long for you, O God. I thirst for God, the living God. Day and night I have only tears for food. While my enemies continually taunt me, saying, where is this God of yours? My heart is breaking as I remember how it used to be. Why am I discouraged? Why is my heart so sad? Oh God, my rock, I cry. Why have you forgotten me? Why must I wander around in grief? If that is not proof that God invites us to bring our reality to the table, I don't know what is. We don't know who wrote Psalm 42, but the author's anguish is palpable. Palpable. And it's not just a vague sense of sadness he feels. I mean, his soul is withering. Withering. He's spiritually drained. He's emotionally parched. And he's mentally exhausted. He's discouraged. He's dejected. And he is broken down. He's panting for God, thirsting for God, pleading for God to hear him, to help him. And he's wondering where God is, why God isn't responding. His hopelessness is growing. His grief is becoming overwhelming. The ache of aloneness is becoming unbearable. God's silence is deafening to this guy. I mean, day and night, I have only tears for food. My heart is breaking as I remember how it used to be. Why am I discouraged? Why is my heart so sad? Oh God, my rock, I cry, why have you forgotten me? Why must I wander around in grief? He's experiencing what the old theologians called God's dreadful withdrawal. The pain of feeling unheard, unseen, and forsaken by God. You ever feel like that? I have. I still do. On a regular basis. I believe everything we say here. I believe this message. And I don't believe it. I believe, help my unbelief. And when I'm experiencing some measure of doubt or unbelief, I feel this way. It's the reason why I love this psalm. I relate to this guy. I know how he feels. I've been there. If you're not there now, I'm sure you have been there, or you will be there. But I mean, this is what he's describing is the internal life of a broken person living in a broken world with other broken people. That's what he's describing here. He's describing the human condition, which affects all of us. I mean, I've cried out to God so many times begging him to break his silence, to hear me, to help me. I have felt paralyzed by loneliness. I have felt crippled by fear, hopeless in the wake of personal collapse, wondering why he hasn't interrupted my destructive habits. Why haven't you protected me more from myself? Why do you continue to allow me to dig my own graves? Who will rescue me from this body of death, O wretched man that I am? If you haven't felt that way, then you're not very self-aware. Because this is life. What he's describing is life. The internal life of a broken person, living in a broken world with other broken people. I have lived with the unbearable dread that I would never enjoy life again. I have felt useless, worthless, unwanted, cast aside. I've experienced no light at the end of the tunnel, overwhelmed with regret, guilt, shame. I mean, I have literally yelled the same words he yells in verse 9. Why have you forgotten me? Why? I mean, have you ever genuinely felt like God has forgotten you? Not that he doesn't know you exist, but he just doesn't seem to care. He's not attending to you. I mean, like he doesn't care about your trouble, like he's against you. not for you. I have felt that many times. Feeling abandoned by God is no joke. Feeling abandoned by other people is painful. Feeling abandoned by God is paralyzing. Paralyzing. I have felt that sting. I mean, God's seeming indifference pisses me off, especially when I'm in pain. Especially. I wrote about an episode in my life where my anger at God boiled over. I remember being so angry with God when my life fell apart. I mean, at first I braced myself and took it like a man because I knew I'd screwed up and had to pay the price. Fair enough. But as the fallout and public rancor seemed to drag on and on with no end in sight, it started to feel unfair. Like God was getting me back. Hell, I knew lots of people who had done far worse stuff than me, and they were suffering far less than I was. I had it out with God a lot during that time. The times I could pray, which wasn't very often, I couldn't do it without cussing and screaming. I'd read the anguished cries of the psalmist, but they'd rarely been a part of my own prayer life up to that point. But there I was, giving God the middle finger, and that is no metaphor. I remember one time when things seemed to be leveling out a bit. Some time had passed. It had been a couple of years. Much of the public and private vitriol had eased, and some new doors were opening. One opportunity had a lot of promise. I was approached by a publisher that was keenly interested in publishing a revised version of one of my books. I was excited. They were excited. I was offered, and I signed a contract. Maybe the clouds were breaking. Maybe the sun might shine again. I was beginning to hope. Stacy and I were visiting my mom in North Carolina and went with her one night to my granddad's conference center to hear a speaker that my mom wanted to hear. Right before we walked in, I got an email. I opened it to find a brief, deflating message from the publisher letting me know they would not be publishing the book. The contract I'd signed was rescinded, game over, and only weeks before the scheduled release date. The reason? Fear of public blowback for publishing a canceled Christian. Concise and gutting, not to mention illegal. I bolted to the only space that had some privacy, the men's room, and I lost it. I returned red-faced and teary-eyed to Stacy and my mom. We found our seats and sat down to the opening worship song for the evening, Good, Good Father. And I thought, nope, no way. That is bullshit. I am not singing this crap. By the looks on their angelic faces, everyone around me seemed to be lost in lovey-dovey thoughts of a good, good God, while I wanted to burn the goddamn house down. Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger? Well, maybe, unless it kills you. And that night, it took me out. Author Charlie Shedd recounts a note his wife left on the kitchen counter one morning after they fought the night before. It simply said, "Dear Charlie, I hate you, love Martha." And that night that I just described, my post-it note to God would have been, "Dear God, I hate you, love Tullian." And I wasn't kidding. I'm glad we can all laugh now. That was like one of the most miserable nights of my life. Thank you. I was pissed. Pissed. Good, good father? Really? I mean, have I not paid the price? Suffered the consequences enough? Are you having fun with this? Or you seem to be enjoying this? Just when I think I've hit rock bottom, I discover there's a whole nother level. And then when I hit that level, I discover there's a whole nother level. I was, for the first time in my life, really, truly, definitively doubting whether or not God was good. Some of my realest encounters with God have happened during my tantrums and tears. I mean, don't be afraid to get real with God. Don't let a twisted view of reverence keep you from being brutally honest with God. If you feel it, say it, scream it, cuss it out if you have to. He can handle that. I mean, the Psalms are proof that he can handle that and that he invites it. What I've discovered is that intimacy with God is developed in those moments. Developed. I mean, I can't tell you how many prayers I've prayed that have started with the F word. Seriously. Where I'm just like, what the would be the first two words, but like, what the are you doing? And I don't say frick or freaking, okay? I mean, I cuss it out. Like, he knows it's here. So let's just have it out. Let's have it out. It's very freeing and reverent to go to God and be real. To go to God maskless. Don't let anybody tell you that reverence is anything other than that. Go to him with all of your stuff, all of your anger to him, anger toward him, frustration with him. Don't be afraid to get real with God. The Psalms are proof that he can handle it. I mean, knowing the truth of grace makes you more real with God and with others. Not just with God. Knowing the truth of grace makes you more real. Yes, with God, but it also makes you more real with others. Knowing that you are unconditionally loved and perfectly accepted frees you to be less edited. And that not only helps you, it helps the people around you. We live in a world that worships strength. But the truth is, strength can be suffocating. Projecting put-togetherness makes people feel more alone. We have sold this version of Christianity that projects put-togetherness. And that's one of the reasons why people feel so alone. Why they feel so less than. Why they feel like they can't and don't measure up. It's why a lot of people inside religious circles are faking it. They're afraid. They're afraid to show their true self to the people in their circles because everyone else around them seems so put together. The people around you don't need a hero. They don't. They don't need someone who always has the answers or someone who never flinches at hard things. What they need is honesty. That's what the people around us need. It's what I need. They need to know that it's okay to feel lost and scared and angry and confused. You cannot help them by pretending you've got it all together, but you can help them by admitting that you don't. I've said this many times over the years, that when someone shares their strengths with me, I may be temporarily inspired, but it doesn't last. But when someone shares their weaknesses and their failures with me, I feel less alone in this world. It's why recovery is where it's at. That's where it's at. You've probably heard me refer to the sanctuary as a recovery place masquerading as a church. That is true. That is the most accurate description I can give of this place, this work that God is doing here. Your wounds are not liabilities. They are bridges. They remind people that they're not the only ones bleeding. They connect you to others in a way that no amount of competence or projected put-togetherness ever could. Your admitted weakness will be the source of someone's strength, I promise you. I promise you. Your confessed struggle is the best way for you to tell someone you're not alone. It's the best way. You want the people around you to feel less alone? Confess your weaknesses. Share your struggles. That's the real Me Too movement. Me too. I may not have experienced the same exact things that you've experienced, but I know what it feels like to be abandoned. I know what it feels like to be cast aside. I know what it feels like to have a broken heart. I know what it feels like to live with guilt and shame and regret. I know what it feels like to live with failure on your resume. I know what that feels like. And when you share that stuff with other people, it strengthens them. And it's the best thing you can do to say, you're not alone. I was at the car wash the other day, and a thought popped in my head while I was waiting for my car to be finished. And I got my phone out, and I started writing feverishly. I'm getting to the age now where if I don't write it down immediately, I won't remember it 20 minutes later. I mean, I used to be able to, just a short time ago, I used to literally be able to have a thought in the morning and go, I'll get back to that later. I want to sort of tease that out a little bit. And after all the kids would go to bed, I would pop open my laptop, and I would recall that thought like it had happened 4 seconds ago. Now, so I got my phone out, and I started to write down some thoughts, some things, and wanted to develop this because, as I've said many times, I write so that I can figure out what I think. That helps me. Writing helps me. This is what I wrote, and it's the last part of this that I want to end with. This is what I wrote. As I age, I find myself struggling to accept that my life has been an endless series of losses and little deaths. Some were inevitable, like my kids growing older, the slow betrayal of my own body, the loss of youthful optimism replaced by the weight of reality, like the fading of certain opportunities, the turns I missed, the doors that have quietly closed, like the realization that time moves faster than I ever imagined, carrying away people I love. Other losses were self-inflicted, and those are the ones that haunt me. I've hurt people. I've squandered love. I've chased things that left me emptier. I've traded trust for temporary escape. I've sacrificed people I swore I'd protect. The list is long. Regret is a cruel companion, whispering what could have been. And yet, grace meets me here in the debris of my losses. I still have love in my life. Happy Valentine's Day, honey. Undeserved, unshakable. What a grace. I see glimpses of redemption in my close relationship with my kids. What a grace. I don't take that for granted. I don't. My grandkids remind me that joy isn't complicated. It's in their laughter, their unfiltered love, their endless energy. Sunsets, ocean breezes, great music. All these things remind me that beauty and brokenness can and do coexist. I'm learning, and this is the part. This was the thought that I had. I'm learning that grace doesn't always heal hurts or erase regrets. It doesn't fix what I've broken or make life easier. It doesn't make me better, but it does remind me that I'm not alone, that there is a love that will not let me go. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough for this broken down dude living in this broken world. I think that sometimes one of the reasons that grace doesn't amaze us is because we expect too much from it. In one sense, grace is small. It's singularly focused. In this life, there is no promise that everything will be fixed. Grace doesn't erase all of our regrets. It doesn't dismantle all of our shame and guilt in this life. It does in moments, maybe for seasons, but it comes back. It haunts us still. Grace doesn't make us better, perhaps, in all of the ways that we want to get better. And because it doesn't seem to be doing its job, we think it's really not that amazing. But maybe it wasn't intended to do that in this life. Maybe grace's singular mission is to remind you that you're not alone. That as you go through the pits and valleys and peaks of this life, there is a love that will not let you go. There is a love that doesn't blink, a love that doesn't flinch, a love that doesn't bail, a love that will never leave you, never forsake you. Other people come, other people go. God sticks. He stays. And so maybe, just maybe, that's the mission of grace in this life. It's simply to remind you over and over and over again that it is finished. Full stop. Let's pray together. God, I pray that you would take the otherworldliness of this truth and pound it into our hearts and minds. It is good news that your mercies are new every morning, because without them, every single one of us would be screwed. And we pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.